Good evening. This is the Elliott wave update for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 for Monday, September 5th, 2022. The combination of yesterday's Globex session and up until today, and now we're restarted Globex, hasn't really produced very much. The market, both the S&P and the NASDAQ, have been trading in a range. With I think in the NASDAQ would be, I think, about 12,160-ish, somewhere up in there, 69, down to 12,055. So, but that would take us into Friday's lows. And in this range actually is much lower. In the S&P, it's 39.12 up to 39.40. So right now, up there, testing the highs. So again, it's just coming out of, it's also just nothing really is changing in terms of everything that is sitting behind a market going down. What changes is the narrative for the move up. And granted, there will be up moves and they will be strong. But right now, in my opinion, in the way that things are lining up in terms of the count, now is not the time to step up and buy it. In fact, I'd be looking for something more dramatic to happen to the downside, and it should be picking up anytime soon. So starting here on the daily chart, I'm going to start with the S&P tonight, and then we'll go over and do the NASDAQ. In the S&P, same story. We have what I continue to consider a major top, and that would be at 48.08, and that was back in the beginning of the year. And that point ended several degrees of rally and all the way up to a supercycle level, which is quite lengthy in terms of how long it takes to get here. So we're in that larger correction, and within it, we're going to be correcting on all these different levels. So, and those are the degrees. So like a cycle degree is a longer term, bigger depth or height for a market, either if it's rallying or declining. Right now we're correcting. And then one below it is the primary, and that's about mid. That could be 6 months to a year or more, depending on which type of wave pattern it's putting in. And then that takes us down to the intermediate, which also can be several weeks to several months. And now what we've worked out is that we are in that mid-range in terms of all of these degrees, except for even the supercycle, because it's a supercycle wave 4 correction. All of the moves are going to be labeled ABC. All of them. Wave A could come in as 5 waves. Wave C will always come in as 5 waves. So there's still a chance that internally there'll be a 5-3-5 or a 3-3-5. But this is the patterns all the way down until we come to our conclusion, which is still pretty far out there and pretty far away. Just by request, I'm just going to jump over and show on the weekly chart. I'm not going to go up any higher because the count just clouds all of the bars. So you can't really see because of the labeling. So even if I open it up a little bit, it shows the depth that we've had 3 pretty strong down weeks, and that's just the kickoff. So what I'm actually looking for now is not necessarily the combination, but one next large kickoff to take us down very steeply. And initially, if we look at this on an Elliott basis, we're in a primary wave C, so that still remains view number 1. And within that primary wave C down, it will consist of 5 waves of intermediate degree. So I point to that because that's the yellow. Yellow is the intermediate degree. And it will be labeled intermediate 1, intermediate 2, blah, all the way down. So on the weekly chart, we've already done 1 and 2, and we're into that third. Now, if I bring it back to the daily chart, we're going to see a little bit of that breakdown in the third. And if we're definitely in that intermediate third, which is a large portion of it, and this is how it kicked off beautifully. beautifully. That was the tip that we're moving into that type of a wave pattern, and we should expect more. Now, look at what we've done all the way down to the bottom of wave one. We battled it. Go up, come down, go up. And this is the one where they actually came out and we're talking about a major low, again, oversold. The volume increased on that pop-up. It produced a hammer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the very next day, it did continue, but it got up to the daily 50, SMA, by the way, and then it was rejected, wholeheartedly rejected for the balance of the day. The session ending on towards the lows, ending at I think that low was, let me get in there and get it. The low was 39.06. And from there, that is where minute wave one went in, and then minute wave one was the day before at 39.03. And then minute wave two was on Friday's high. And then that kickoff of minute wave three, of minor wave three, of intermediate wave three, of primary wave C. So we've got 3, 3, 3. And in essence, it's truly, if I break this down again, let's go to the 30 and we're looking at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's Friday's low. Then we just meander around. And to me, it's just like an A, a B, and now we're finishing up the C wave. And they're continuing to think that they need to continue to buy it for whatever their reasons are. That's kind of what's happening. So where do we find, we're going to find some resistance? I would imagine that it's not going to be too hard to come up with a level that the market's going to have to really come up with the reasons to why they're pumping the US. And again, there it is, and 0.382, if this is a 1, 2. All right, so again, within this 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, we've got another one. It's time for this to just, you can see why that's why it's not really moving, because it's like, do you want to buy it? No. Is there enough reason to sell it? Yeah, I got to let somebody else take the initiative. And I agree. I'm not big enough to step in. So I'd be taking a chance because I don't know if someone's going to walk in and go, we love it, and boom, we're off to the races. So, and that's not really being wishy-washy. That's telling you this. But I do believe that what's coming up next is a turn, and a turn lower, and a turn quickly lower, and a turn that will just take us down. If this is 1, I'm looking for a third, which is going to be even more dramatic. And if I get that third, I'm just going to put some tentative together. All right. Remember, under Elliott, and that's taking that this is the high recent. Come on. 39.42 holds. If it doesn't, it gets adjusted. But there, we're looking at 100%. So wave 3 would be equal to wave 1 at 38.28. And we're figuring out resistance, right? Or support areas. We have 38, 28, 29, down to 37.60, 58.60, right in there. And that's the 100 and the 1.618, and that would be relative to a third wave. So again, when we're into this C wave down, and we're moving right here, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, excuse me, 1, 2, and now it's in the third. So there's wave 1, 2, and then we're doing again 1, 2. So we've dropped first intermediate, then minor, then minute, and now a sub-minute level. It's getting pretty like just going to turn and drop, and it should produce quite a bit. Again, they're continuing. They're continuing to push right now, and whatever's doing it is doing it. And it's basically just coming from the US because the Asian markets haven't opened yet, and European markets are still asleep. So it's all from in here. But again, what we're looking at is, I'm going to drop it back down to that 30 so we can take a peek. If they continue to this, we have some serious downside to come, but now I've got to take this all off because I need to take a look at what potentially we could do continuing to the upside. If this is just a wave 2, those were the ones that were on prior to this. I actually just took them off by mistake. So if I go there, into there. And so we'd be looking to get 39.50 to 39.62, and that would just be 38% and 50%. And the 50% takes us up to that 30-minute 200, the SMA. So let's see, come on, and that like that, and like this. Come on, jeez. I'm sorry. Sometimes everything does not want to agree with you. But there it is. The 50 is right there. In fact, both on the 1 hour chart, you got the SMA and the EMA together right at that same area. In fact, right where we're attempting to push up against. And I really wouldn't be thinking it's going to go much further, although we have resistance at 39.62. So technically it could go all the way up to here if they really want to continue to push, and they could do it without a reason because one just kicks in the next, which just kicks in the next, and here comes the next. So it is kind of like not necessarily building block, not necessarily bullish, not necessarily bearish. It's just they're just doing it, and that can happen. So for tomorrow, again, not knowing what the catalyst would be, my anticipation just for the market because of the current count and the labeling, I would be looking for the markets to turn and head lower again. It is time now to do the 3 of 383, get it in. And so a decent sized drop would be up. And again, we were talking about 38.50 down here, 38.25 down in there for this way, just a drop. And that only takes us down 115, and we've seen it. We've seen it. So the possibility that it could just go and then build on that is existent. All right. So that kind of takes care of. I continue to find resistance levels without putting them up. You can see how they do wrap themselves around the moving averages. So again, if they pop it here on a moving average basis, you would be expecting it to move up, start moving up to 40.20, because that's the next level. Elliott wise, I would not. I would have to start changing and thinking that this really marked some lows, but I do not believe the ultimate low is in yet. And I think we have a lot more to go. Okay, let's move over to the NASDAQ. NASDAQ is going to do the same, give us the same picture. And it is just moving up 0.236. And that is, excuse me, that actually isn't the one I want. So I'm going to move that one. We want to do this one here. So we're looking for this too. So I'm going to look for here, down to there. Oops. There. Come on, take it. Thank you. So what we have is we're just surpassing 0.236 and we're coming up on 0.382. That is resistance, fib resistance for a bounce. And it comes in at 12,201. And then we have 12,250. And then we have 12,305. And that's kind of 618. So a wave 250 to 618. And they probably wouldn't have any problem here if they really lit something, if they really got everyone to believe something, that's where they could probably push it. And then still be looking for that same, like, oops, we went up too high, and they just punish. So ultimately, I continue to look for more downside. Again, same thing, intermediate degree, minor degree, minute degree, sub-minute degree. So we're coming all the way down, and we can keep going, but it's just going to tell you the depth that it's going to take, because what happens if we get 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, then we're looking for 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5. It's just going to stair step all the way down. So that would be my view for the downside. Upside, we just heard. So let's take it from that. We have that resistance at 12,306. We've got it at 250. We've got it at 201. So I'm going to remove this and look at where we have again here as well. We have the 50 SMA and EMA right here, and they've gone up and tried to give it a little test already today at 182.50. So we've got it up to 188, a break there. On a moving average basis, clears it for here. But we have fib resistance at 2250, 2275 and 2302, 2250 and 2227. I maybe right in here. Maybe we're the top. Nope. But we have three resistance point fibs. And I would suspect 12,300 without solid evidence of something to produce where you're just going to run in, you're going to start buying something because it's something somebody's doing against whatever. And it's got to be more than just a rumor or some pundit bringing up a subject that everybody goes, well, what if? And it goes, what if? So other than that, I do think that we head lower. Let me just bring that back down and go back to that hourly chart, because now I want to put up fibs extensions for wave 3, and that would be on a minor. Oops, I'm going to change this and do my extensions, and I'm going to go down. Come on. And up to the top of here. Come on. Thank you. Okay, so what we have, again, for a third wave, it's being compared to the first wave. Third waves are most often within the 5-wave impulsive move, whether it's up or down. The third waves are normally the longest and the strongest out of waves 1, 3, and 5. So here is minor 1 here, intermediate 1, minor 1, and now I'm measuring a minor third wave. And so 100%, where wave 3 and wave 1 would equal, is 11,820. Support zone right there. Could turn it again. Beyond that, the zone actually, I normally would be looking for as a minimum. That one stands out, but then I'd be always with the 1.618. in my mind for a third wave against the first wave. So I'd be looking for 11,425. We're due, we're ready in terms of this whole corrective pattern dropping. People are going to talk and they're going, why? It's like, you're still trying to figure out why. It's like, it's happening. So figuring out why is kind of moot at this point. There are a myriad of reasons. There's a lot going on across many different fronts, politically, sociology, or socially, corporately, and on and on and on. So things, I think, are going to start to crack and fall as different things make themselves known. In any case, Elliott alone tells us we should be going down. The pattern does suggest additional downside. And once it gets going, it should be swift. I mean, it's very similar, folks, to what we saw on Friday. They rallied it because this was the rally. They go, okay, this is it, kids are just going, go for it. We got all the green. And it came up on big volume. But that's expiration volume in my mind. So then this, they bought it up pretty hard. And then the Friday had big volume. It was more here than here. In any case, I believe went 1 and 2, and we're now going to start to come over and come down. So we have a spinning going around of the volume spike that happened last week. Thursday and Friday, there was a decent volume spike. All of that, the buyers are coming back, everybody's going to run back in. And this is immediately what they go out and spin. And so whatever the situation may or may not be, I am looking for an additional, this is again a 1, and this is all a 2, a 3. And I believe it should happen pretty easily. And I think that we could have another down 300-400 day or more. So when that kicks in, and please don't ask me why would I think that's going to happen or how could it happen. Those are two factors that I don't know. If we all knew, then they wouldn't be standing here buying it. We'd all be jumping the gun and taking off. So everybody's standing to wait. And this is what you call climbing the wall of worry. You're already short. You're going to cover. Okay, I'll take it off. Because they're starting to come in and they're starting to pressure it to the upside. Whatever the emotions are, they can create the mood without anything. Don't forget, US holiday. This is the last one. And before we go into the fall season, before the kids are back in school, et cetera, before we return to our jobs, whatever they want to consider, whatever. So upside, downside, we can rally up on a moving average basis alone if we get above here. And I'm talking about we get above and we get a nice close above. This is what I think comes up on a moving average basis. There are many other ways that we can take a look at it, but right now, they've been lining up and wondering. 50s are flat, so that's why it's continuing to provide resistance right here. The 200s are flat, so I'm thinking if we're going to move and we're going to take a charge for this, I highly don't think that we can make it, but we may. And if we do, you don't get out in front of it because I'm looking for something to go down. I won't be out in front of it. It will give us signals that it's being bought and it's going up. You must trade with it. Same thing. If it's going to go up, it can't huddle. Right now, it's don't trade, right? So nothing's really going on. There's small moves. They don't make sense. I'm not going to try anything. I'm not going to short it. I really don't want to buy it. If this gets broken tomorrow, by the time we're beginning our session, it has to have some follow through. So we have the Asian markets opening in an hour. And if that helps to really put some oomph behind it, they'll get it up. And then maybe they'll head for 12,217, 12,227, and 12,305. Those would be some upsides if I'm just looking at retracements. These are extensions for the downside. All right. So I'm going to basically leave it there for right now. And we'll see what takes place tomorrow. Right now, they are continuing, but now they're going to still push a little bit. So, and it's just pushing up 5 and then dropping back down. No one's coming in to sell it, and more people are getting worried, so they start to buy it. Anyway, tomorrow will be the next update, and tomorrow's date is Tuesday, September the 6th.